This is warm up. I don't know what that means. Switch to active speaker. Hold on. I don't know. I don't really understand. Okay. This is 9 Habits That Can Do More Harm Than Good by Amanda Green for Women's Day on Wednesday, August 10, 2011, 7:26 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. The basics of staying healthy seem pretty easy to follow. Eat well, exercise, get enough sleep, and you should be on the right track, right? Surprisingly, it can be more complicated than that. Oftentimes, the very choices we make to benefit our health can be the same ones that hurt us in the long run. Read on to learn which unexpected habits, like brushing your teeth after every meal or slipping into a pair of comfortable sandals, might be causing you harm. 1, compulsively using hand sanitizer. If you reach for hand sanitizer anytime you make contact with the outside world, you might want to take pause. Unless you are in an especially germ-prone place like a hospital, soap and water will work just fine, says Richard Gallo, MD, PhD, Chief of the Division of Dermatology at the University of California, San Diego. When you're not near a sink, hand sanitizing gels can help, but be sure to read the label first. When your research has shown that those containing triclosan may promote bacteria and virus resistance to antibiotic medications. This goes for antibacterial hand soaps that contain triclosan too. Instead, choose brands like Purell that contain at least 60% alcohol, which will kill 99% of bacteria on contact. 2, experimenting with skincare products. Who isn't tempted to buy the latest skin creams and serums promising to shed years from your face? While looking for something that works for you is a good idea, overhauling your routine every few weeks in search of the fountain of youth isn't. I've always encouraged my patients to create a daily regimen and stick with it, says Jody Levine, MD, a dermatologist in New York City. Women get easily bored with their beauty routine, especially if they don't see results right away. It can take between 6 and 8 weeks to see changes. If you're using a product to increase collagen, expect to wait 6 months to see a result. She often cautions patients against constantly changing products, noting that it may cause adult rosacea, a condition that results in red, patchy, and sometimes inflamed skin. People may be forming sensitive skin by trying out too many different products with high levels of fragrance and other sensitizers, Dr. Levine says. In lieu of always trying something new, stick with what works for you or see your dermatologist to develop a new routine and manage your expectations. According to Dr. Levine, a consistent regimen should keep your skin clear, clean, and smooth. Make that your rule of thumb and don't expect miracles, especially when it comes to over-the-counter anti-aging products. 3, wear flip-flops. Foregoing sky-high heels and toe-pinching boots for the freedom of flip-flops is giving your feet a much-needed break, right? Not exactly. Turns out your summer shoes aren't doing you any favors. According to Jordana Spiro, DPM, a podiatrist and foot surgeon in Boston, flip-flops and other unsupportive sandals, which have no arch support and give no structural support to the foot, can lead to stress fractures since your uncushioned feet become strained when they try to support too much weight, she explains. Extensor or flexor tendinitis is also a common problem that happens as a result of trying to keep your flip-flops on. The muscles on top or underneath your feet overexert themselves while trying to grip your shoes. She also advises against walking around shoeless, even if you're by the pool or in your gym's locker room. Aside from not giving your feet any support, going barefoot can also be challenging for those prone to infectious skin diseases, such as plantar warts and athlete's foot, which are easily spread poolside, in pedicure salons and in gyms. But that doesn't mean you need to spend your summer in closed-toe shoes. Dr. Spiro recommends comfortable sandals that also provide plenty of support, like styles from Fit Flops, Ortho Heel, and Mephisto. 4, brushing your teeth after every meal. Rushing to brush immediately after every meal may seem like a great way to keep your oral health in check, but according to Greg Diamond, DDS, a New York City periodontist, it's better to hold off. Food can leave acid on your teeth, which can weaken the enamel, and brushing while the enamel is in a weakened state can actually scrub the enamel away. To dislodge any food particles that may remain after eating, he recommends simply rinsing your mouth with water and saving the brushing for morning and night. Then when you do brush, be sure to do so in a circular motion, according to Dr. Diamond. This will improve your chances of removing harmful bacteria between the teeth and gums. Brushing up and down or back and forth, on the other hand, can leave behind harmful bacteria causing gum disease, while applying too much pressure can lead to receding gums. 5, doing only cardio when you work out. It's easy to assume that the best way to lose weight is to stick to the same cardio workout, but if you only do cardio, your body will become so accustomed to the routine that you'll start to burn less fat over time, says Joseph Ciccone, DPT, CSCS, a physical therapist at Columbia Doctors Eastside Sports Therapy in New York. Plus, going through repeated motions on the treadmill or elliptical machine can create tight muscles and lead to injury. Trade in a few of your cardio workouts for circuit training, which involves doing a number of different strength training exercises with little rest between moves in order to keep your heart rate up while also working out your entire body, ensuring that you'll burn the most calories without burning out. Integrating resistance training into your routine will create muscle mass, which will help you burn more calories throughout the day, even when you're at rest, says Jennifer Fleischer, exercise and nutrition coach and owner of Holistic Fitness in San Francisco. She also recommends revamping your cardio routine by mixing in interval training once a week. Try doing 30 seconds of high-intensity motion, whether you're on a treadmill, elliptical machine, or in the swimming pool, followed by 90 seconds of recovery at a moderate pace, working your way up to 10 repetitions. The bursts of intensity followed by recovery will effectively and efficiently blast calories and fat. 6, skipping meals to save up for later. Women have gotten into the habit of saving their calories for the fun stuff later on, says Deneen Frug, MD, Associate Medical Director at Pritkin Longevity Center and Spa in Miami. For example, many women hold off eating lunch so that they can have a few glasses of wine to unwind at the end of the day. Not a problem as long as you're carefully allocating your calories, right? Unfortunately, when you don't eat breakfast or lunch, you can develop cravings and irritability, which can lead to overeating later on in the day, she explains. A smarter approach to eating: fill up on protein-packed meals and nutrient-rich snacks that'll keep you satisfied all day. So when dinner time or a cocktail hour rolls around, you won't be tempted to fill your plate with calorie-rich and high-fat foods. 7, drinking only bottled water. By reaching for a bottle of H2O, you may think you're doing your body some good by avoiding tap water, which can be filled with who knows what. But that's not the case. Bottled water contains no fluoride, and we're seeing more and more adults suffer from a fluoride deficiency, which can lead to tooth decay, says Dr. Diamond. Instead, fill your glass with water purified by a Brita or pure water filtration system, which will keep your water free from impurities commonly found in tap water, but still allow you to reap the benefits of fluoride. 8, cleaning with disinfecting products. While keeping your home pristine and germ-free may seem like the path to perfect health, using cleansers that boast antibacterial or disinfecting properties could have the opposite effect. These products haven't been proven to be any more effective than regular cleaning products, and there is significant evidence that the chemicals in these disinfecting cleansers, called quaternary ammonium compounds can lead to asthma, says Rebecca Sutton, PhD, senior scientist at the Environmental Working Group. Other cleaning product chemicals to avoid include butoxyethanol, which the Environmental Protection Agency considers a human carcinogen, which has been linked to cancer. Alkylphenol ethoxylates, which can disrupt hormones. Ethanolamines, which can cause asthma. But cleaning products companies aren't required to list most ingredients on their product labels. You can call or go online instead. It can be tough to know what to buy. However, Seventh Generation, an eco-friendly company, clearly lists their ingredients on their labels, so that's one option. Another, which Dr. Sutton recommends, is cleaning with a mixture of 1 part water and 1 part vinegar, or scrubbing surfaces with baking soda, both of which have natural antibacterial properties. She emphasizes that when it comes to ousting germs, the key is cleaning often and thoroughly, not blasting every surface with the harshest cleaner you can find. Your goal should be to clean regularly, says Dr. Sutton. That way you'll get rid of dirt so there's no place for bacteria to grow. 9, loading up on nutritional supplements. When it comes to vitamins and minerals, more is better, right? Not always, says Christine Rosenblum, PhD, RD, Professor Emeritus at Georgia State University. People often take nutritional supplements without really understanding what they're consuming or if they really need them. Because so many foods are fortified these days, she notes that chances are many of us don't have any major nutritional deficiencies. If you are already getting enough of what you need, the best case scenario is that the supplements will have no effect on you. But there are more serious side effects of carelessly popping pills. Vitamin A in large amounts can be toxic to a developing fetus. Vitamin C in large doses can cause gastrointestinal distress as well as interfere with glucose readings in people on diabetes medications. And too much vitamin B6 can cause nerve damage. Since a 2009 study in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition concluded that in the absence of a deficiency, eating food instead of taking supplements should be the primary way to fulfill nutritional requirements and deliver health benefits, Dr. Rosenblum suggests visiting mypyramidtracker.gov, where you can input the foods that you eat daily, and the site will tell you what you need to add to your diet. If you find out that you need to up your intake of, say, calcium, try integrating calcium-rich foods to your diet, like a glass of skim milk or a spinach salad, before making a beeline to the supplements aisle. If you do learn that supplements are the best choice to remedy a deficiency, look for USP printed on the label, which signifies that the pill meets the standards of the testing organization US Pharmacopeia. Okay, switching material now to something from the Court of Appeals. For the record, Larry Sheely. Larry Sheely sought treatment from appellant for back and knee pain. Appellant treated Sheely almost exclusively with large quantities of various simultaneous combinations of morphine, OxyContin, oxycodone, and methadone. Sheely's son, who accompanied his father to many of his appointments, only observed his father receive non-drug therapy once. Sheely's son testified that after Sheely started seeing appellant, his father's demeanor changed dramatically. In addition to losing his appetite and weight, Sheely became somnolent and irritable. On one occasion, Sheely backed his truck into a tree, apparently without realizing he had done so. These changes so worried Sheely's son that he counseled his father to stop seeing appellant. Sheely, however, continued seeing appellant until he died from an oxycodone overdose. The level of drugs in Sheely's system when he died was consistent with the amounts appellant prescribed. A representative of the company that provided Sheely health insurance testified that the amount and cost of the drugs prescribed to Sheely, along with the frequency of dosage, was as high as he had ever seen. The representative became so concerned about Sheely's prescriptions that he contacted the DEA. Barbie Brown. Barbie Brown sought treatment from appellant primarily for reflex sympathetic dystrophy, a chronic neurological condition that causes severe pain. Appellant knew from the outset that Brown had a history of prescription drug and cocaine abuse. He nevertheless prescribed OxyContin, oxycodone, and later methadone in various simultaneous combinations for her. Appellant also allowed Brown to manage her own dosing without specifying a maximum amount. Brown's father wrote to Appellant to express concern about his daughter's treatment, stating that since coming to see Appellant, Brown had been in a drug state, unstable in her speech, and had threatened to kill her father. Appellant continued prescribing opioids to Brown, however, maintaining that, if anything, her dose was too low. Appellant stopped treating Brown abruptly after less than 2 months when her insurance stopped covering his care. He took no steps to wean her from the opioids, however, and she was hospitalized for 4 days with severe drug withdrawal symptoms. C. Leslie Smith. Leslie Smith sought treatment from Appellant specifically to obtain prescription painkillers. Smith traveled 60 miles each way to see Appellant after learning that he had readily prescribed drugs to one of Smith's friends. Smith testified that he lied to Appellant about pain in his wrist, but that Appellant prescribed high doses of OxyContin and Dilaudid, the drugs that Smith requested, without ordering x-rays. At trial, Smith admitted that he was a drug addict and injected these drugs to satisfy his habit. Evidence indicates that Appellant was aware of Smith's drug use. Appellant discovered a syringe in Smith's possession during a visit, but on being told that Smith used it for fishing, continued to prescribe Smith's drugs. Appellant eventually became sufficiently suspicious that Smith was either using or selling his medications to write to the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control to express those concerns. Appellant, however, continued prescribing drugs to Smith after writing the letter. D. Seth Boyer. Like Smith, Seth Boyer learned of Appellant from friends and began traveling more than an hour to see him, specifically to obtain prescription drugs. Boyer came to his first appointment with Appellant with track marks on his arms from intravenous drug use. Boyer complained of pain in his foot, but as with Smith, Appellant did not x-ray it before prescribing OxyContin, OxyFast, and Dilaudid. Boyer both used and sold these drugs. On one occasion, Boyer lied to Appellant about spilling a bottle of liquid oxycodone, and Appellant refilled the prescription immediately. E. Kyle Barnes. Kyle Barnes started seeing Appellant for treatment of fibromyalgia, a chronic condition characterized by widespread pain and stiffness, after her former provider was closed by the government because of its prescribing practices. When Appellant first began treating her, Barnes was addicted to oxycodone. Even though Barnes was poor and receiving Medicaid, she traveled nearly 3 hours to see Appellant, paid for his services in cash, and filled prescriptions for thousands of dollars worth of medications. Appellant prescribed Barnes massive doses of methadone, OxyContin, oxycodone, and morphine in various simultaneous combinations. In 1 year, Appellant prescribed Barnes 20,562 individual doses of various medications. Appellant continued to prescribe methadone even after Barnes told him that she could not take it because of side effects. Barnes sold both the methadone and morphine. Evidence supports an inference that Appellant knew Barnes was not taking her medication as prescribed. At one point, after Appellant had prescribed Barnes high doses of opioids for a number of months, she reported running out of her medications. She did not, however, report any of the withdrawal symptoms commonly associated with a sudden cessation of such high doses. F. Angela Knight. Angela Knight sought treatment from Appellant for chronic back pain after her previous pain clinic was shut down for its prescribing practices. Even though she lived closer to other pain clinics, Knight traveled nearly 2.5 hours to see Appellant. He treated Knight with high doses of OxyContin along with methadone and oxycodone. As with other of Appellant's patients, evidence suggested that Knight was not taking her medicine as prescribed. For example, at her former pain clinic, Knight twice tested negative for opioids despite being prescribed OxyContin at the time. Even though her medical records revealed this fact, on her first visit to him, Appellant doubled the dosage of her previous OxyContin prescription. Thereafter, Appellant continued to prescribe high and escalating doses of opioids for Knight after his office conducted 2 similar drug tests that detected no opioids in her system. On other occasions, Knight tested positive for opioids, indicating that she was, in fact, taking medications. Knight eventually became addicted to the medications that appellant prescribed and suffered significant withdrawal when she stopped taking them. Okay, let's just read this one more little segment and then we'll do our takes. G, Dr. Stephen Storrick's testimony. At the trial, the government offered testimony from Dr. Stephen Storrick, an anesthesiologist qualified as an expert in pain management. Based on his review of certain patient records, Dr. Storrick concluded that the treatment of several of appellant's patients fell outside the parameters of legitimate medical practice. With respect to Sheely, for example, Dr. Storrick testified that there was no legitimate reason to be prescribing combinations of opioids in such high doses based on the patient's medical conditions. Similarly, given Brown's history of drug abuse, Storrick testified that appellant's treatment went outside the course of legitimate medical practice and was like pouring gasoline onto a fire. As to Barnes, Dr. Storrick stated that it was uncommon to treat fibromyalgia with the amount and type of medication appellant prescribed. Indeed, he testified that appellant's treatment of her was one of the worst cases he had seen, and that it was way outside the course of legitimate medical treatment. In response to questions about Ms. Knight, Dr. Storrick testified that it was outside the legitimate practice of medicine for appellant to prescribe high doses of opioids given her history of negative drug screens. Dr. Storrick was subjected to rigorous cross-examination regarding varying theories of pain management and acknowledged differences in point of view as to appropriate levels of pain medication. He was also challenged as to and defended his opinions regarding appellant's treatment of specific patients.